Hi folks, this is just a quick follow-on from the Q&A session that I held in Dubai while I was out walking, and there was a couple of points I didn't cover during that which I thought by showing this spreadsheet might help. First of all, of course, when you're going out to buy boots, the first and most important issue is comfort and fit for you personally, and that obviously changes from person to person. And the second most important issue is comfort and fit, because if you're not happy with the comfort or fit of the boot, then no matter how good it is in terms of quality or the price you paid or how waterproof it is, etc., you'll never be happy with it. Now, if it's a little bit on the large side, you can perhaps accommodate that by wearing an extra thick pair of socks, or as they do in Scandinavia, 2 pairs of socks. But if it's too small, frankly, there's nothing you can do, and you have to start again. But after you've covered the comfort and fit, there is the other aspects that I normally try and cover on the channel in terms of how waterproof they are, how are they wearing, etc. But one measure is a return on investment. How do we measure that? Well, generally, the lower the price you've paid initially and the higher the kilometres or mileage you're covering, the better return on investment you're going to have. Now, I do keep a number of spreadsheets. That's death by spreadsheet, so I'm not going to follow all those for you, show you all those, or you'll be bored to death. But what I do is every time I go out walking, I put it on the spreadsheet for the month, the distance and the boots, and then I transfer that to some other spreadsheets. Now this one in particular is showing the what I call return on investment, and just to let me explain that, I have set a target, and this is just a personal target, of 1 pence, 1 UK pence per kilometre. So every time I walk a kilometre, I class that as 1 pence. And then my target for the value of the boot, or the baseline of the boot, is 5p per kilometre. So if the boot has covered a distance where it creates 5p or less, then I see that as very good value. So just to look at a practical example of that, these are the dates in years above the top. And it shows 2014. I started late 2014, but in the main from 2015. So if we take the first boot, which was the good old Mindel Desert Fox, they're the distances covered in those years in kilometres, so that adds up to that total figure. So if we divide that by the purchase price, or the purchase price by that number rather, it comes down in a figure per kilometre. And in this case, it's come down to, the last time I walked in that boot was 2018, because that's when it's finished. After I finished walking with it, I used it for projects around the house. It came down to 1.78 pence, less than 2 pence a kilometre. So that's in my well within my 5p baseline. And again, that's just a number I'm choosing. If you decided you wanted to do this, and you might think I've got too much time on my hands here, but if you decided you wanted to do this, you could set it in any number you want. So again, Bates, Army Bates, 1,102 kilometres, and that worked out at 3.85 pence per kilometre. And that boot's not finished yet, so it could come down even further if I walked in it. So again, that's below my 5 number. So as we go down these, I won't show them one by one, but as we go down, then we've got the kilometres walked and then the cost. Now let's look at the Swiss Army boot, because that answers another point, which is, well, why buy Army surplus? And particularly, we're talking about boots here, but it probably applies to other aspects as well. Couple of reasons. One is they're normally been made for a purpose, fit for purpose for an army, whichever army that is, so you expect them to be tough and well made, and in general they are. And secondly, they tend to be low cost, because in this case the Swiss Army boot cost me £40 sterling. I don't know what the Swiss government paid for them originally, but of course they were paid for by the good folks in Switzerland with their taxes. So they've been written off in terms of they've already been paid for by taxation, and that applies to any country. And now the Swiss government are selling them off because they have a new boots coming in by Aku. And so there are quite a few of these on the market at the moment, and I've seen them going for £25 sterling. And these are excellent boots, very well made, very strong. So that's extremely good value for a high quality boot. And I've already covered nearly 509 kilometres in them. Therefore the price has come down to 7.87 pence. And again, they're not finished yet. So that's a good idea of using army surplus and why. Secondly, and let's look at Altberg. Let me find the Altberg boot right down here. I haven't covered that many kilometres in the Altberg boot yet. But modern army boots are very much like civilian hiking boots. If you look at the Altberg Defender army boot, which is one of the main boots being currently used by the British Army, and you put it alongside the Altberg civilian walking boots, and you know, most people wouldn't be able to tell the difference, and yet a civilian walking boot from Altberg will cost you £230 sterling, where you can buy a Defender, as I've got it there, for £45, or perhaps even less. So again, modern army boots look much more like their civilian equivalents. They're not like the good old British black army boots from the past, like the direct molded sole boot, DMS boots, or the Combat 95 boot, which a lot of people have problems with the outsoles. They do look like army boots, and some of my older boots, you know, you can distinctly see they are army boots, like the German older boots, etc. But the more modern ones, like the Ittori boots, the Aku boots, look much more like a civilian boot, if that's a concern to you. The other concern sometimes people have is, well, you know, do I really want to buy a second-hand boot that somebody else has used? And there's two answers to that. For a start, is often you can buy a surplus boot that's never been issued, like the Swiss Army one I mentioned earlier, and my Swedish Army boot, which although it's an old boot from 1968, it had never been issued. It was just been in storage. So in effect you can get, in the sense, a brand new boot in the sense that it might be quite old but it's never been issued. Or if you're concerned about other things, getting problems with it, then you can swap out the insoles, etc. So that can resolve that concern, if that is a concern. So there we are, really. That's just the spreadsheet I keep to show the value by boot as a return on investment, which then goes hand in hand with, you know, the comfort, the waterproofing, how it is wearing, and this will cover the value in terms of how it will wear. Okay, I hope that's been of some value to you. If you've got any questions on that, then come back to me and I'll try my best to answer them. As you can see, some of these boots I haven't covered very much, and some of them no mileage at all yet. That's just simply because I've got so many boots now that it's almost impossible for me to cover any, you know, big distance in all of them. But my plan, if I get to that, is to cover at least 500 kilometers per boot, because that is a good indication then of how the product's performing, and I can then share that information with you. Alright, so hope you're okay. Take care out there, and look forward to bringing you some more boot reviews in the not too distant future. Take care.